If anyone had a particularly surreal Venice in 2023, it was Caleb Landry Jones. Not only was the actor on the Lido for barely 24 hours, for the world premiere of Luc Besson's Dogman, in which he played a cross-dressing vigilante thief with a pack of canines at his command, but the 34-year-old had effectively been yanked from a muddy film set on the top of a mountain in Scotland early one morning, flown to Italy, put in a shirt, ferried from press conference to red carpet, flown back to Scotland the next day and driven to the top of a mountain to shoot a crucial scene. I was in Venice, but all I was thinking about was this really important scene I had to do, he says. And I kept falling asleep in the screening and trying to wake up, and Luke would be like, "Man, it's okay, go to sleep." While in Venice, Landry Jones also created an air of intrigue and mystery by speaking throughout in a Scottish accent. During the Dogman press conference, Besson said his star was in character, and while he claims he never used to consider himself a method actor, having spoken to others he's since come to appreciate he probably is one. "I don't do everything my character does, but I do a lot of things that are going to trick me into thinking like it and enough to fake it," he tells Variety, pointing to an interview with Nicolas Cage talking about Ghost Rider, in which the actor said he'd surrounded himself in ancient trinkets to make him feel more like the character. He says he particularly enjoyed the fact Cage admitted he didn't know whether it worked or not. In a nice round circle, the film Landry Jones had been shooting up a muddy Scottish mountain with a Scottish accent is now bringing him back to Venice a year on. Harvest, the English-language debut of Greek director Athina Rachel Sangari, is bowing in competition and sees the Texan in another lead role, this time as a townsman-turned-farmer in a tragicomic take on a western, according to the description, in which over 7 hallucinatory days, a village with no name, in an undefined time and place, disappears. It's based on Jim Grace's Booker Prize shortlisted novel, considered an allegory for our times about the perils of the modern world. For Landry Jones, who won the Palme d'Or for his portrayal of an Australian mass shooter in Justin Kurzel's Nitram, and has become renowned, and sought after, for playing figures on the fringes of society, Harvest represented something probably missing from cinema right now, a way of making movies and the kinds of characters we're seeing. It was also a movie he claims had been deemed impossible, and one that fought against his director throughout the filmmaking process. Athina had everything pushed against her from every fucking angle, including from me as an actor. I really gave her a hell of a time, he says. But I wasn't the only one. It was coming from nature. It was coming from the set. It was coming from some of the crew. It was coming from the way people were telling her how movie needed to be made and couldn't be made. And it came from a stunt coordinator who was off his tits and left in a fury waving his fists. He adds, "She was fought at every level and still made the film, and it nearly killed her, and when I say that I think it did nearly kill her. Given the trials of its production and the fact films such as Harvest are just so fucking difficult to get off the ground," Landry Jones, who in his non-acting time is a keen musician, releasing his debut studio album of psychedelic rock in 2020, says he's incredibly proud that it has been recognized with a competition slot and for him to been part of Tsingara's vision. "Because her vision is very rare right now," he says. "It's very few and far between that people are built like this, their brains and hearts are built like this, and have become the kind of artists that they have become." Another director with distinct vision very much in Landry Jones's creative orbit, although perhaps markedly different from Tsingara, is Besson, the two having recently wrapped their second film together. Dracula, a love tale, which Besson was pitching to his actor while making Dogman, and marks his most ambitious film since Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, is the French filmmaker's more romantic take on Bram Stoker's classic Gothic tale, with Landry Jones in the famed lead role, and a film he says has some really wild ideas in it. "But I think it'll also be a very touching story," he says. "It's all about love being ripped away from you and that staying in your mind for 400 years and it becoming something else. But it's very much Besson, and filled with the things that make him laugh and excited." Like Sangari, Besson is someone he says he's in awe of, largely for manner in which he gets his ideas from page to actual production in the time others would still spend talking about them. "I've never worked with anyone who is so on top of his movie," He's just relentless, completely relentless, from day one to the last day, he says. I've worked with incredible directors, but I've never seen this tenacity before.